When you ask a student about the cause of World War II, they'll most likely cite the bombing of Pearl Harbor, which is correct. However, if you ask them to cite the cause of World War I, well, the responses may vary. Uh, Context and nuance is necessary to describe what led to the United States joining the war in World War I. And so the best way of doing this for American history students, they need to be presented news articles, newspapers that actually give that background knowledge. They provide that context for students. One of these newspaper articles called Staggered by Intrigue, Zimmerman Note opens eyes to German ruthlessness, specifically cites the Zimmerman Note that led to the United States to declaring war on Germany. And this is maybe the most direct cause of the war, as it talks about Germany's desperation in the war. And the United States and Germany in this time were friendly. At this point in time, the United States had not joined the war. They remained neutral. So this newspaper article was a call to arms. But there was some criticism of President Woodrow Wilson for withholding this Zimmerman note for so long from the public, which leads to more nuance as to the public being so against the war. When Woodrow Wilson was running for president for a second term, he used the slogan, "He kept us out of the war," meaning that the public was satisfied with the fact they are not involved in the war in Europe. And Manfred Berg writes on page 2 of He Kept Us Out of the War that Democrats typically attacked Republicans as being warmongers for wanting to get involved in this conflict. That is how many people were okay with the stance of neutrality at this time period. But the Zimmerman note doesn't directly explain how it led up to war in 1917. It was actually another event that also encouraged or promoted war against Germany, and that was the sinking of the Lusitania. And the first news article, Staggered by Intrigue, actually cites the Lusitania in one of its first paragraphs. And so the sinking of the Lusitania by a German U-boat did not directly affect Wilson's stance on joining the war at first. So in another newspaper article, Lusitania's death list, now 1,256, 115 were Americans, they talk about how close it came to war at that point, that Wilson is acknowledging this travesty that takes place against Americans, and that war may come, but there are other honorable courses to be taken first, such as diplomacy. And so obviously, again, this shows that Wilson is trying to avoid joining the war. But the newspaper article also presents some other ideas, and that is, if Uncle Sam doesn't do anything when the Germans do attack Americans, what is America besides a buffer? I think that was a really powerful statement that the newspaper article provided, and I think students would see that as well. And they even provide a short piece on what Teddy would have done, what Teddy Roosevelt would have done. So without this context, without this nuance, students are not going to specifically understand the events that led up to America's decision to join World War I. And so it is the effect of the sinking of the Lusitania and the Zimmerman note that ultimately explains why the U.S. joined World War I. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from all of you.